Could you give me your name, your number, and state the purpose of your business here today?
Yeah, it's PC Price, Charlie Papa 816, and my purpose of my visit here is to interview you about alleged offence.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm willing to grant you access to this private land upon acceptance of the following. 1, that upon your oath you do swear that you will not attempt to make an arrest upon my body here today.
That's correct.
Thank you. Upon your oath that you do agree that because you're renting private land, everything will be recorded on video.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
And upon your oath you will agree that at all times I will maintain my whole body of God-given natural and inalienable rights.
Right. I've no understanding what that means, but I'm not going to arrest you or anything else.
Okay, I can explain that. On acceptance of those terms, I'll grant you access to the land.
Lovely.
Lovely, thank you.
Right, you okay, I'll have to go through a spiel to start with.
Okay.
Before I start this interview, I must inform you have certain rights. Okay? You have the right to obtain legal advice and have a solicitor present during the interview at your own expense, or speak to someone on the telephone. Do you wish to obtain this legal advice?
What I would say in response to that is at this moment I hold all my God-given natural and inalienable rights intact and will exercise them if I deem necessary to do so.
Okay, that's the longest reply I've ever had to that statement. So, are you willing to be interviewed now without a solicitor present?
The answer is I'm not willing to be interviewed. Can I ask you?
Yeah.
At this time, presumably, you have to establish identity.
I'll ask you questions about that.
Okay.
Certain questions. So I would say you're not obliged to answer any of my questions. You know, if you deem that you don't want to give a comment on a certain question, just say no comment, and I'll move on to the next question.
Okay.
All right. But if you want to give me an answer, you can do. So there's no pressure to answer me.
So, with respect, why are you writing my comments down?
Yeah.
If you haven't established my identity?
That I'll come on to.
Okay.
Okay. Because at the moment I'm saying that I'm happy that I'm interviewing Raymond Sinclare. Okay. Now, whether you disagree or agree with that, that's obviously.
Well, who is Raymond Sinclare?
That's who I believe I'm speaking to now.
No.
Okay. We'll come to that.
Okay.
All right. I'll ask you questions about that. Okay. I must caution you now that you do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand?
The word understand is synonymous with stand under, and I do not stand under that comment or that statement.
So are you happy for me to write I do not stand under that statement?
I do not stand under that statement, yes.
Okay. You've been cautioned. I would like to make it clear that you are not under arrest. Okay.
I'll just stop you there. You say that I have been cautioned.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is correct you there. You believe that you have cautioned this person called Raymond Sinclare.
Yeah.
I am not that person.
Okay.
So therefore I have not been cautioned.
Okay. I'll have to read out what it says anyway because it's a pro forma. You've been cautioned, but I would like to make it clear you are not under arrest. Okay? And you can ask me to leave at any time.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
Yes, absolutely. Well, actually, let me amend that if I may.
Okay.
You asked me if I understand.
Yeah.
I don't stand under that statement. So the answer is no.
Okay.
I apologise.
No, I do not stand under that statement.
Yes.
Okay. Are you Raymond Sinclare?
No. My name is Raymond, as commonly called. I am of the family Sinclair. I'm a freeman on the land.
Right. Okay.
The person that you seek is a legal fiction, represented by this piece of paper.
Right. Okay.
And I do not represent that legal personality. To confirm that it's a legal personality, if you look at your document here, the corporate world always puts corporate names in capital letters.
Okay.
You will see also, excuse me, that on a birth certificate, which is basically the formation of a contract between two parties,
right,
all the surnames, as you can see, are in capital letters.
Yeah.
This is corporate governance.
Yes.
This contract was created at a time when I was not in a position to object.
Right.
And it was created against my wishes. Therefore, the contract doesn't stand. Because I seek not to represent that legal personality, it is a legal fiction.
Okay.
Anything that you write down here is merely directed at that legal fiction, which is a piece of stationery. There's a good word, reason it's called stationery, is because if I do nothing with it, can it move?
No.
So therefore, I am not the person you seek. Do you understand what the difference is between a person and a human being, legally speaking?
At the final point in law, No.
Then, sorry.
Yeah, I take it you're referring to legal contract.
This is a legal contract. You are a corporate officer.
Right.
Do you believe that?
I'm a police officer.
No, you're a police constable.
Yeah.
But you are also a corporate officer.
Okay.
Do you work for a company?
No.
Yes, you do. Would you like me to give you the evidence of that?
Well, we could go. Yeah, we will go into that if fine. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm sworn to the Queen.
You're a sworn constable.
Yeah.
But the documentation that you're completing is corporate paperwork.
Mm. Yeah, it's legal paperwork.
In order for you to effect documents that refer to me as a freeman and a human being, those documents have to be governed by Her Majesty, with whom I've invested my sovereignty.
Right. Okay. We're going to have to condense that answer. Okay. I've asked you, are you Raymond Sinclair? You said no, okay. I'm...
All you need to put is, I do not represent the legal fiction whom you call Mr. Raymond Sinclare.
Okay.
You might want to add to that.
Yeah.
The legal fiction whom you seek is represented by this piece of paper. And only by this piece of paper.
Can I put referring to birth certificate?
You may put birth certificate.
In the name of Raymond Sinclair.
In the name of Raymond Sinclair. And if you wish, you can take the certificate number down.
Thanks.
I'm more than happy to give you a copy if you require.
That's fine, thanks. Okay, did you visit the Swan Public House at Fiddleworth on the 9th of April 2009?
As the human being, Raymond, as commonly called, of the family Sinclair, I'm unable to answer that question or represent an answer to that question on behalf of that legal fiction you seek.
Okay, so if I'm unable to answer that question, how would I write it? Go on.
I, as Raymond, as commonly called, am unable to answer that question because I do not represent the legal fiction to whom you have directed the question.
Okay.
That paragraph will probably be the answer to every question you ask me from this point forward.
Right, okay. No problems at all.
So if you want to make a reference number against that paragraph, and say something like first answer, you might then just want to put C first answer.
Yeah.
Because that is effectively what I am going to have to tell you in response to every question you ask me from this point forward.
Okay, no problems at all.
Because I can't answer for this legal person here, this legal representative, this legal function.
And you're happy if I put C first answer, you're happy to agree that that was the first answer. If you give that after each question, then we can sign it off. And
what I'll say is I refer you to my previous answer.
That's great. Yeah, that'd be better because I could just write that out. Okay.
As they do in court, I refer my learned colleague to the answer I gave previously. But I don't want to be that pretentious.
Who did you go there with?
I refer you to the answer I gave you previously.
At that time, did you drive a Range Rover showing the index of...
I refer you to the answer.
Marvellous.
There we are.
I thought you were going to lead me on to page 11.
And
Okay. Okay, that concludes the interview.
Okay.
So that's all done.
Right.
I wonder when my first page went. I thought.
So fundamentally what I'm saying there is that in the conducting of your questions, you haven't been addressing me.
Yeah.
And you've been addressing this piece of paper.
Yeah.
And because this piece of paper cannot speak, and because I've inferred that you're addressing me, I've basically explained to you that I cannot answer for this piece of paper.
Okay.
And therefore, the statements that I gave you at the outset confirm that this piece of paper, this legal fiction, and me, sui juris, a flesh and blood human being, are not the same entity under law.
Right. Be interesting, won't it? I'm sure everything needs a test, doesn't it? Now, what I'd now offer you is a chance to read through and initial and sign the comments given by you, if I can use the word you. You can refuse to do so. It's up to you, so I'll give you that chance now.
I am unable to read through the documents because they don't belong to me, they belong to this person here.
Okay.
Everything that's been done today has been recorded for the record.
Yep.
So obviously that's a record of what's gone on here today.
Yep.
So I, as Raymond commonly called, have no reason nor desire to read the statement of the legal personality that you seek.
Okay. No problems at all. So, what I'll do, I'll just go and initial my entries.
Of course.
And I won't put refuse to sign, I'll put decline to sign. Okay, on the end?
No, well, I'll give you a statement about why I can't sign.
Well, I can't, now the interview's finished and concluded, and now I've had the chance to sign the document.
I'll give you a statement that on tape.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. But I'll have to write that on the form because they'll ask me, well, why wasn't it signed?
So if you have to write it on a form, as long as it's written, I don't mind.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So obviously you can say whatever for the benefit of your take home.
Okay. You might need to amend that where you put declined.
Okay.
You might need to put. I think you need to put the legal person declined to sign.
Shall I put in commas the legal person? Well, actually, it's not. That's not part of what you're saying. It's my
your
application of that on there to say that I've offered, as I believe, Raymond Sinclair the opportunity to sign, and I've put decline to sign. Whether the reasons for that.
You declined to sign, as far as I can see.
The reasons for that, obviously, you can say. But there we go. That basically concludes the interview.
All right.
The following video was shot in a magistrate's court, a court de facto, in order to expose what now passes for justice in the UK courts. For the sake of clarity, the following points of law need to be stated. There is no law that demands that a man or woman should have to pay council tax. There is only the 1992 Local Government Finance Act, which, being an Act of Parliament, can only be enforced with consent. This video is about exercising your right to stand under common law. This means not giving consent to a commercial court. All those assuming judicial authority have to swear an oath or attestation to serve the Queen and to uphold the law of the land, or common law. They have no authority to enforce commercial law, the law of the sea, unless you consent. They are obliged to honour their oath when requested and produce evidence of their oath on demand. If they refuse, they dishonour the Queen and her oath to uphold the law of the land, and of course those who have sought to uphold and preserve the law of the land and customs and traditions of the country. As Stephen Barry was summoned to the magistrate's court.
I am a lay representative appointed by the agent for Mr. Stephen Barry, who's here with us today, sir. And with sir? Sorry? I'm a lay advisor, sir, appointed by the law.
You're not address the court, and I'm not addressing you, sir. Mr. Barry, here, please.
We claim common law jurisdiction, sir.
Mr. Barry,
Mr. Barry is here in the court, sir.
Mr. Barry, what's you standing?
Have you got your birth certificate?
Then the clerk stands up and abandons the court. This is Mr. Stephen Barry, a birth certificate, a piece of paper, in full view for the clerk and court to see.
Has he abandoned the court?
The clerk had abandoned the court, then returns with the magistrates. This still shows the moment when the members of the public showed that they did not consent to the jurisdiction of a commercial court. This was shown by not standing up when the magistrates entered the room. The layman then made it clear that common law jurisdiction was being claimed.
So the law jurist said we claim common law jurisdiction.
The layman repeatedly asks the magistrates if they are on oath. They do not honour their oath because they are purely there for issuing summary judgment for profit. In this case, for themselves, the council, and of course the commercial court.
We play common law jurisdiction, lead court, I'll hang it with. So you give on your own security to court number 1, please. Security to court 1. So are you give on your own to remain, stand please. Those of you who are not ready to remain will leave the court in security, please.
The clerk again reverts to issuing orders to gain jurisdiction, but the public gallery and the layman stand their ground. Jurisdiction has again been denied.
Are you giving your oath to that? Are you giving your oath to that? Sir, no, you Stephen Barry. I'm the lay advisor, lawful agent for Mr. Stephen Barry. Sir, I'm appointed not allowed. You have no right to investigate. What? First of all, this case, everybody who's sitting to leave court, please. Everybody who's sitting will leave court, please. Will you please be quiet? No. Just be quiet. You can absolutely. You did walk in. You were standing when you walked in.
The magistrate is trying anything to get jurisdiction by assuming the layman is standing for the magistrates, which would give them jurisdiction. The clerk regains some honour by advising the magistrate the lay advisor was already standing, and standing under common law when the magistrates entered the court.
So you refuse to explain your oath, madam, sir? When we call possible to have your oath. We call possible. And I don't have to sit there. I'm not going to let you figure out the magistrate. I've ordered this man to move. Magistrates have abandoned the court, sir.
The magistrates have abandoned the court as they have not gained jurisdiction, and therefore have no authority, and neither does the clerk.
And I say, on the magistrate's part, I claim common law jurisdiction. I claim I'm asking you to go. I'll let you get out. Sir, will you go? Sir, if I talk to me, I'll sue you for a on the common law. Can you do that?
Yes, he can do that. The clerk fails to address the steward's question.
Are you coming out now? Yes or no? No, all police can do. All police.
The lay advisor repeats his request for a constable to be called to the court. The court clerk then advises that the police have already been called. This is not the case, as only a member of the public gallery had at this point called the police.
I witnessed the magistrates order this man removed. And these people here are not up to their own. Please don't touch me. Have you arrested me? Yes, please do. Please prove it. Take him out. Please prove it. Yes, told us to take him out. No? Well, he's got the authority to do that. He's no authority. I'm security to me. I haven't had it in the law. I don't respect their jurisdiction. Do not touch it. Please don't touch it. You are not authorised to touch me. I do not consent to you touching me. Do you understand?
It is left to the stewards to do the clerk's dirty work. It appears that only now the court usher is calling the police. The lay advisor retrieves the birth certificate, Mr. Stephen Barry, the person that was summoned to appear in the court. The steward looks bewildered. However, he did the right thing by not using force. The steward makes peace with the lay advisor. A few minutes later, the police arrive. The constable listens as the lay advisor explains he has asked for the magistrate's oath and there has been no breach of the peace. The constable has been asked by the lay advisor to honour his oath, which he does. He is now upholding the law of the land and acting as a peace officer. The constable explains the situation to his men and asks them to stand down. However, the sergeant claims that the court belongs to the magistrates, which is untrue.
Common law offence is what I'm saying. Yes, it is. Okay. I need to prove, and I have a lawful right under common law to prove that the person who gave that order has the lawful authority to give that order by seeing their oath. Because in order to give an order in a court of law in this country, you must have sworn oath. And in respect of you enforcing that order, because you would be then in breach of your right. Oh, please do so that. That's a constable. No, and please don't take that person. I don't intend it.
All the officers in yellow are sympathetic to the lay advisor and honouring their duty to uphold the common law.
I'll leave with no violence or walk around the court, but obviously we will then take them.
Lay advisor asks for the written order from the magistrates to be produced before he leaves the court. Sergeant agrees and goes to get the order.
We respect as human beings.
20 minutes later, Sergeant returns without a written order. The sergeant keeps implying that the Law Society will investigate any grievance. The sergeant returned twice more, without the written order. Mr. Stephen Barry, the legal fiction, the birth certificate, is once again produced in court for and on the record.
For on the record, I place Stephen Barry in front of the court. Has anybody in this courtroom prepared to identify themselves as Stephen Barry? So this is Stephen Barry claims to full previously. For the record and on the record. Okay? There's nobody in this room now who's Stephen Barry. Would you like me to bring Mr. Stephen Barry to the court, sir? And the court won't understand. Stephen Barry. Sir, I respect Mr. Stephen Barry court. Would you come to the court? I'm just going to get the other hat on you. The officers, all these people who are not answering to them, Stephen Barry, did not stand when asked to do so, and that just took that as a mark.
The clerk asks for those who did not stand to leave or be removed. The constables honour their oaths by not responding to the clerk's orders.
This is Mr. Stephen Barry. He's a legal fiction created by You've been asking the court. I call Stephen Barry. Mr. Stephen Barry is in the court seat. But everybody I'm content with that. This is Mr. Stephen Barry. He's a legal fiction created by You've been asking the court. I call Stephen Barry. Mr. Stephen Barry is in the court seat. But everybody I'm content with that criminal content. Is that criminal content? Have you said this in you hear the magistrate say, the sergeant said a court order has been made, and I said I would like cited the court order. Mr. Barry is in the court. He's been presented to the court.
We are still waiting for the magistrates to produce a written order. However, time is money, and the council's solicitor, although being paid a small fortune, is getting restless. Her fee has been estimated at around £450. The hearing is to establish liability for £308.
I'm never covering Mr. Stephen Barry on the court. Sorry? This is Mr. Stephen Barry here.
Sergeant returns for the last time with no written order. Lay advisor asks once again for a written order. Yes or no would suffice, but Sergeant is still in full-on BS mode, as there is no written order. Mr. Stephen Barry, the legal fiction, or birth certificate, is once again produced in court, for and on the record.
For on the record, I place Stephen Barry in front of the court.
Once again, those in the public gallery, by remaining seated, deny the corporate court jurisdiction.
Lay agent Stephen Barry is present in the court, represented by the legal fiction which is waiting for the verdict. The person, Stephen Barry, is that the legal person, sir? Sir, we do not appear to have a response to the court, so everybody who is now seated is seen as a member who is entitled to be able to respect the rules of the court. Those members of the public then, who are not active, we believe may be contempt of the court. I'm asking to leave the court. Sir, may I ask, is that contempt? I'm asking members of the public who are not standing to leave the court. They are questioned. You may not, you may leave. Is it contempt civil or criminal, sir?
The magistrate then throws in the old contempt of court chestnut, yet they still have no jurisdiction.
The court takes judicial notice that the magistrates have abandoned the court. I am therefore the highest authority in the court. Once the magistrates have abandoned the court, we dismiss the...
As the magistrates have abandoned the court for the third time and have never had jurisdiction, the lay advisor informs the court he is now the highest authority and leads the lay advisors out of the court. The only jurisdiction in the court was therefore common law, and the police constables honoured their oath. Case dismissed under common law.
Don't be
The clerk and magistrates failed in all their attempts to get jurisdiction. The legal fiction appeared in court 3 times. The lay advisor remained in control of the court. The magistrates could not make a judgment and threw in the towel. The alleged offences committed by the clerk, solicitors, magistrates and counsel include conspiracy to defraud, fraud, obstruction, perjury, dereliction of duty, deception, treason and wasting police time. Whilst your associates informed me that you were present in court, it is unfortunate that you did not make yourself known to me or the court. Stephen Barry registered his name on arrival at court and was seen by 14 witnesses. Mr. Stephen Barry, legal fiction summonsed, was presented to the court on 3 occasions. This too was seen by 14 witnesses and also by you watching this film. This makes the counsel, solicitors and magistrates' testimony spurious, and if that's not bad enough, the hearing started at 12:30 as the clerk delayed the case for 2.5 hours. But the liability order was signed at 10 AM before the hearing. Yes, before the hearing. Judgment was passed before the case was even heard. Liability order in respect of council tax. Date 21st of January 2010, 1000 hours. Cumbraen Magistrates Court.
Sir, madam, before we enter the court, do we do so with all our natural, God-given and inalienable rights intact? No. Thank you, sir. And so, all on the record, we claim common law jurisdiction when we enter this vessel. Do we have an accord? I'm happy to accept your offer to come forward on the understanding that we do so with our natural, God-given and inalienable rights intact. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. The human being share of the family document here as the also able for the legal fiction known as share of document. Sir, madam, thank you. We're very humble here. Before you hear anything you did, we'd be very quite respectful. Thank you very much. Right. So now, just to interrupt, before we begin, madam, sir, can I just ask, are you here on your oath today? Sir, may I see the oath of the with respect to, I have the lawful right to inspect the magistrate's oath because, as it stands, I only have your word for that, sir. I have the lawful right to prove to myself and these persons here present that the good lady and the gentleman on the bench have the lawful authority to sit there in that capacity. Right, well, Goblin, I'll introduce myself. I'm Mr. Cameron Park. Thank you, sir. Sorry, I make my there. So I have a lawful right to make my position clear too, sir? No, We will not interrupt you any further. So I respect the sovereignty of the court, provided it's proved to me in law. I only have this gentleman's word for the position, sir, which is here at this time. Quite frankly, this is not the situation. Excuse me, is that a germ or a real family or man overboard? It's the court being offended, sir. So I do not stand under that statement. With respect to how you say legal, we're interested in the lawful establishment of this court, sir. With respect, sir, and notice honour upon you, and all on the record, we have requested lawful proof by way of your oath that you have the authority to adjudicate and authorise in this matter, which we have the lawful right to do. I will say one more. This court will proceed. I would ask you to respect this court and allow Mr. Devereux to present the case. And no respect you so all to Mr. Devereux, and notice on our part before on the record, sir. We have the lawful right to establish these proceedings as lawful, sir, and your position on that bench to have law. Very well, I'm not to remain in with this situation. Therefore, we will once again use this moment and ask our legal advisor to take the representation. Thank you for your time, sir, and madam.
Hello, Ray.
Hello, Ben, how are you?
How are you doing? All right.
I'm very well.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for agreeing to talk to us online.
Not at all.
And the reason I wanted to speak to you and interview you for YouTube is because you've got a lot of interesting stories to tell, and you've been involved with the, what would you call it? Would you call it the freeman on the land scene, or what would you call it?
I think generally it's called freeman on the land, but I think it's evolving. But generally, I think the consensus is it's freeman on the land, isn't it?
Right, right. I want to start off by acknowledging you for some of the great things you've done that I know about, which is firstly the website freedomrebels.co.uk, is it?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
You created that and founded that, I understand.
Yes, I did. And thanks for your comments on that. It was born of a need for the ability for people to just come together in one place and discuss a range of issues and topics that surround, for want of a better name, the Freeman movement. And it seemed to me at the time when I started it a year and a half ago that there were a few sites, good sites like Veronica's Free FMOTL and John's TPUC site.
Yeah.
But it seemed to me that there was no sort of real social network, if you like.
Yeah.
And so the plan was to develop that and deliver that, and that's what we've done. And it seems to be going very well. We've got about 3,500 members now.
You've done a great job of it. I mean, it's sort of obviously kind of like a Facebook for alternative thinkers and that type of thing, isn't it? Um,
Yes, yes.
and it's very easy to network with people. So I just wanted to kick off just by, just mentioning that website. If people haven't seen it, they should definitely check it out. It's a great resource for.
Thank you for the plug.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Ray, so you're an interesting guy. You've had a lot of involvement in a lot of different things regarding, you know, um, various court things and
Mm.
council tax and loads of stuff. So would you mind sort of, give us a little bit of history? How did you get into all this? What you've been doing?
The history is quite an interesting one. Uh, if you go and do some research on the St. Clair family name, which my surname, as everyone knows, is St. Clair, and trace it back particularly to a guy called Sir William St. Clair, way back in the 16th century. Um, he was the guy that built the chapel at Rosslyn, and he is accredited with starting the Freemasonry movement, the Scottish Rite Freemasonry movement,
Right.
in England. And I've got various members of my family who've been sort of fairly senior Freemasons, although I'm not a Freemason. And I know a lot of Freemasons, and I have to say that at the grassroots level, the Freemasons I know are actually quite a good bunch of people. I think it's when you get into the higher echelons
Right.
of that movement, it starts to go pear-shaped.
Mm.
Really, I suppose I've got my father to thank for the mindset that I have today. He started educating me when I was about 17 or 18 as to certain things that were happening in the world. And I really did nothing with that information for many, many years. And then about 5 years ago, I started to get a little bit angry about the way we, as a people of this country, were being treated and abused, in my opinion, by certain people, namely those in Parliament. And so I started, like most people, started looking around the internet, started beginning to pick up on this word freeman on the land, etc., etc., etc.,
Mm.
and started doing, the research. And that led to me meeting some fantastic people. I mean, really fantastic people, excuse me, who I've become great friends with, such as John Harris and Veronica Chapman, and Guy Uden and Norm Hinks, and Norman Hinks. Who all of us, we bring something different, and yourself of course, and we all bring to the table, and so I started getting into it, but I needed to have a focus. And as I said to you previously, I live in a reasonably sized house, and the council tax bill here is astronomical. I mean, it's over £3,000, and so I got quite angry about that.
Yeah.
And that's where I started to sort of get in and focus on doing something about what was going on, and focus my attention into something and channel it into something, and that's really how I got started in it all.
Right. Right. So what's some of the experience? I know you've done loads of stuff. I mean, we've seen videos of you in court. That went viral, didn't it? That one with you challenging the magistrates, and
Yeah.
we also saw video with you with the policeman in your
Mm.
dining room, it looked like.
Yes. Yeah.
And so tell us some stories. I mean, what?
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll be honest, and I've got to give credit to John Harris for that video, because John came and stayed with me quite a lot, and we, John and I get on like a house on fire, and I love listening to John talk.
Mm.
He talks for England, bless his socks, but
Yeah.
I just love listening to him talk, because there's a depth and an honesty to the man that is just rare these days.
Yeah.
And John and I were talking about the fact that we sat in my little study in my house, and we looked on the internet, and at that time there were some viral videos going around from the Irish side, where they'd been recording cases in court on mobile phones, but there really was no video at that time. There was no. And I said to John, I said, if we can video an English guy in an English court challenging the magistrates on their oath, and challenging them to produce their oath,
Yeah.
I think it will have a profound impact upon people, because a lot of people read about stuff, and it's okay to read about stuff, and it's okay to hear about stuff.
Mm.
But when you see something, that's
Yeah.
a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
it's more visual, it's more realistic to you.
And
So
also, if you don't mind me jumping in, it's
no?
also inspiring, and it gives courage to the people that are watching, because when you see somebody else acting courageously and standing up for themselves, it has a positive effect on everyone that sees it. It's really valuable, I think.
I think so too. And from my point of view, um, John and I discussed this quite a lot, and the thing that we wanted to get across more than anything in those videos, in both the Cumbran video and the Gloucester video, was this word fear.
Mm.
And the powers that be and the government of this country almost expect by default that we're going to live in fear of them, and their control units, the police. And in order for anyone to achieve what they're going to achieve in this particular environment, you have to lose the fear.
Yeah.
You've just simply got to realize that they have no power
Mm.
and accept that as fact, and then work from that as a starting point. And so while the underlying thing was to show people how you do it, the other thing was, this is how you operate if you have no fear.
Mm.
And I'm glad, because I got a lot of comments came back from that, where people said, actually, we now understand what it is to have no fear. And I'm not a tough guy. I'm not a guy who wants to go. And if you look at the videos, you'll see that all times I was very polite and I was very calm and very collected, because you win nothing if you go in aggressively.
Right.
All it will do is escalate violence at the end of the day. And the one thing that I've learned from John and others is that violence begets violence.
Mm.
And so you have to be polite and calm and peaceful all the time. And I must give a mention to both Steve and Barry down in Wales, who allowed me the privilege of going into court for him and standing for him on that day, and
Right.
also to Sarah Godliman and Andy Lowe down in Gloucester,
Mm.
who took the brave decision to allow me to go in and stand for them in the Gloucester scenario, because without the bravery of those people allowing me to do that, which is potentially a risk to them,
Mm.
those videos would have never been created. So I really want to thank them for that, and take my hat off to them for allowing me to do that.
Right.
Mm. And so that when we did those videos, and we launched the first one, which was the Cumbran video.
And what is it called, just so people can search for it if they haven't
um,
seen it?
I think I've seen it on so many places. Funny fact you say, those two videos combined now have had over 9 million views and
Bloody hell.
been embedded on 118,000 websites.
Oh, blimey.
So yeah, it's quite a funny thing.
Cool.
I think if you put English Freeman in court, or Cumbran, which is spelled CWMBRAN,
Right.
or Gloucester Freeman, those kind of things in YouTube.
Okay.
And also there's a YouTube channel for Freedom Rebels called youtube.com/Freedom Rebels. I think they're on there as well.
Right.
The thing about the Freedom Rebels thing is that, because I have to work to earn a living, I have other people who help me with it, and I don't always know what goes on it, and what's current and what's not. I sort of check in every month or so, and
Yeah.
and try and be on it as much as I can, but obviously work commitments
Yeah.
take me away from it sometimes. So and so the thing was, we wanted to get across that this is how you lose the fear.
Right.
And what became evident from those videos is that as soon as they're challenged, they leave.
Right.
They leave.
Right.
And they get up, they walk out. They can't cope with the with what you're doing to them.
Mm.
And we've learned a lot more there. And I have to say, and I'm going to be brutally honest, we were very naive back then.
Mm.
We didn't do it quite right. However, as an exercise to show how you confront them, and confront's perhaps the wrong word, how you walk into a court with no fear, and exercise your natural and God-given and inalienable rights.
Yeah.
They achieved what they set out to do on the tin.
Mm.
And I must give a massive mention to a guy called John Hurst, down in Wales. He came up to the second one we did at Gloucester. And I don't know if you've seen the Gloucester video, but there's a guy who shouts out, man overboard as the as the magistrates are leaving the court, and that is John Hurst, and he's just a fantastic guy, and him and Julie, wonderful people. And when I heard it, I absolutely howled with laughter, because obviously, as we know, the courts are vessels, and they were jumping ship basically.
right.
So he felt inspired to yell out "man overboard," and it was a classic moment, and something that many people have commented on. Said, who was that guy that shouted out this? So we had good fun making them, and what it did, as far as I could see, was that suddenly lots of people started videoing inside courts.
Yeah.
And that was a great thing.
Yeah.
The fact that we triggered that for us was a great thing, because it now meant that we were taking a control method that they use on us, i.e. filming us everywhere. We were taking it right to their door.
Right.
And that was really interesting. And, we saw Dom and Meredith film stuff in court, and other people filmed in court. And we even had people as far away as Australia sending us videos that they'd done exactly the same thing in Australia.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic to see. And it seems now that videoing in courts seems to be a bit of a de facto thing now.
Yeah, it's become a bit of a sport in a way, hasn't it?
Exactly.
Which is great.
Which is great, because obviously the more that they know that they're being filmed, perhaps the more they'll understand that they need to, behave themselves, basically.
I find it so exciting, Ray, because there's like there's this viral thing going on, that there's like this awakening, isn't there, online, especially with social networking, because this spread of information is spreading like wildfire, isn't it? And
oh yes,
yeah,
and we have the internet to thank for that.
Yeah.
And the fact that people can get onto the internet and mobile phones and video these things and just get them up. And I've seen some of your videos, which have been fantastic. The stuff we get on Freedom Rebels sometimes, and I look at how far people have taken it. It's great. It really is great. And the video, for us as a media, to get the message across, it's just brilliant. And I love what people are doing with it, and so there we are. And I'm grateful that those two videos got put out there as much as they did, and I'm very proud that I was the first English guy to do it in an English court, but I couldn't have done it without the help of a bunch of people, including Steve Barry, Norman Hinks, and all the guys that got round me and said, "Yeah, let's do this. And it was great, and it was actually quite a funny feeling of it. There was almost a feeling of elation when we did the Cambran one. That they, we all got outside the court afterwards and went for a cup of coffee in a local tea shop, and the atmosphere that you get when you go and do these things is fantastic.
Yeah,
it is fantastic.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So what if you were going to go into court today?
Yes.
What could you give us? What's your type of methodology? What's your mindset? What are you looking to achieve? What do you
Okay.
do?
If I'm honest about it, and as you can appreciate, the amount of requests that I got to go and stand for people after those videos were released just went through the roof.
Right.
And what became very apparent to me very quickly is that many people saw the standing up in